Hello and welcome back to the last part, the third segment of my conversation with Karen Nowicki, which we're calling Becoming Soulfully Self-reliant. Karen is president and CEO of Phoenix Business Radio X, and she believes that life is a journey in self-discovery and evolution. The sooner we embrace this notion and love ourselves through the muck, the more peace and joy we'll find in our daily lives. And Karen, I'm turning the tables on you because you're usually on the other side of the being the interviewer. So I'm just honored that you were here. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, and this is part of my continuing series of conversations with strong, brilliant women like Karen, who have inspiring stories to tell and who are role models for the rest of us when it comes to learning to thrive. Hello, Karen.
Hello, thanks for having me. This is fun to be on the other side of the microphone, so to speak.
And I am so happy that you've allowed me to do this, to turn those tables, so we can hear your perspective on life, which is very inspiring. So this segment is about the lessons you've learned through your journey and those multiple pivots and shifts in your life that you've already told us about. But before we get there, where you're going to tell us what you've learned, would you tell us what it means? You touched on this in the previous segment, but tell me a little more about what it means to you to become soulfully self-reliant.
Gosh, where do I start? Soulfully self-reliant is a term that I think I've coined. Maybe somebody will prove me wrong someday. But it comes from my own experiences that, let me step back. I grew up Catholic. I was a devout Catholic for years, well into my first marriage and having kids. And talk about having some life shifts there with my experience with religion, the Catholic religion. At one point, I decided I was no longer going to follow that faith. And yet, I've always been a very spiritual person and have studied a variety of spiritual practices. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter which religion or which soulful practice or spiritual practice we follow, as long as we are doing it for ourselves, and then we can become soulfully self-reliant in that relationship with ourselves. So for me, if we're talking about tips in this segment, the number one tip for me is that there is a higher being working on my behalf, on all of our behalves. And as soon as I can kind of resign to that fact that it's not about what happens here in Karen's brain only, or in her heart, or in her gut. All those things have to be singing from the same sheet of music, and that there is a bigger universe, a bigger God, a bigger something at play. I won't even try to define it because I'm still in discovery with that. And that's what soulful self-reliance is to me, when I can get quiet with myself and get clear what's happening in my head. How is it, or is it in harmony with my heart? And how does my gut feel about it? That's soulful self-reliance. When something is off or askew, one of those things aren't in sync with the rest of me.
That is so perfect, and it relates back to what we were talking about in the last segment about being aligned and true to yourself and understanding whatever it is for you, in terms of a higher being, if you even believe that there is, but and if you don't, that at least there is that alignment within yourself.
Yes.
So that you are connected with what you believe, with your values, with your beliefs, with your faith, whatever that may be. So I think that is so, thank you for sharing that definition, if you will. I was intrigued by that phrase you've coined, and I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So now let's hear some of the other wisdom, the other tips that I know you've touched on a few already, but let's just review those and tell me what more you have.
Well, what comes to mind when you ask that right now is finding someone that can be your champion through the transitions, right? You've dedicated your career to this. There's aspects of my career where I've dedicated my time to people who are making transitions. I think that is so important to find somebody, whether it's a professional or a dear friend or family member, as long as they can let you express whatever you need to express while you're going through the transition, that it's your journey and not theirs. I don't believe that there's any one way to move through things. You've got to keep finding your way to see what works. And the key is never giving up in that. If you've gone through a divorce, as I have, at least for me, there wasn't ever a time that I felt like that was the end of my life. And I have some girlfriends who literally have said, my life has ended because my marriage has ended. And through our friendships and through my relationships and other people who have coached these women, they've come to realize they can have a choice. They can shift and choose who they want to be in these experiences. Same thing with career transitions. I've visibly shifted my career over the last 12 years multiple times and have landed on the top every single time because I've chosen that. So finding a mentor or a guide, someone who has gone a similar journey, I think is also important. I've never wanted to hire a coach, and I have plenty of coaches in my life. I've never wanted to hire a coach that's never gone through what I've gone through. At least a little, something similar, because I want to know that they can feel me. They can have that same experience. So I think that'd be kind of the first tip that I would summarize.
Yeah, and that's a great one. It is. It's something that I share a lot. This is not a life that we should be doing it alone. In whether it's the good times or the bad times, we are designed to be supported with love and encouragement by others, those we choose to surround ourselves with, right? So I think it matters a lot who we choose to surround ourselves with. And I work with my clients it's almost the first thing I work on with them. So I'm so glad that was your first tip, because I think it's really important. So tell me what else.
Well, so along with that, I think that's of critical importance. I've had many coaches and guides and counselors and therapists, you name it. I'll continue to hire those people as I go through life. My current coach is my physical and wellness coach, because I'm working on my physical being. And I always want to learn from somebody who knows more than me. I also think equally important is knowing when you've outgrown that coach or that mentor and guide. And that some people might cringe who are in the field and say, oh, don't tell people that, because they feel like they always need to have something else to offer their clients. I disagree. I would always start off with my clients by saying, I want to teach you everything that I know, so that one day you'll look at me and say, my work is done here. And then you go find that next coach, that next mentor or guide to take you wherever you need to go next. And that's, again, I think that this piece of being soulfully self-reliant, if you were working with a coach and they said something that didn't quite make sense, bring it inside, embrace it, listen to it, practice it, see if it fits. And if it doesn't, or if you just take a small snippet from it, it's okay. Find a new way to work through things. And again, I think we underestimate the power of our own well-being. We have everything we need inside of us. We have everything we need already packaged in here. We just have to find a way to embrace it, tap into it, and start listening to it more frequently, so that it can guide us wherever we need to go next.
Yeah, great advice. I believe as you believe. When I'm working with clients, I want to take them from where they are today and fill their treasure chest with life strategies and tools that they can use, so that whenever that next upside down moment happens in their life, they don't need me. They already have the tools with what they have inside and what they have learned. And then they're going to get to learn more from someone else and take a different, get another perspective, take a different view of what's going on. I love that. That's great, great advice. What else?
The next thing that comes to mind is the concept or the idea of energy, that we are energy. You and I are in exchange. We are creating and experiencing energy together. Even though you're in your home office, I'm in my office, we're in this experience. Anytime we're in relationship with someone, or we even pass someone, we have the opportunity to exchange energy. So the more we embrace how to not only own the energy within ourselves, this goes back to that alignment again, the head, the heart, and the gut. There's a lot of studies recently that say that we have 3 brains. It's not just this one up here, that our heart has its own brain and our gut has our own brain. The more we can get in concert with that, and this idea that energy, we are just this energy field, and it's not negative or positive, it just is, we can move mountains.
And we get to choose what kind of energy it is, don't we?
Yep.
Right? So that whether it's negative, whether it becomes negative or positive. So when we walk into a room of people we don't know, we get to choose how we walk in there. Right? And whether we attract people to us because of a positive energy, or we sit back and we observe and we bring, it's not negative, but maybe neutral, and we don't attract anybody because we don't, it's our choice. We get to choose that. And I think the golden thread we've woven through this whole conversation is that of choice. Whatever we are, whatever circumstance we're in, we get to choose how we move through it and beyond it, or not. That's
Right.
A choice too.
Yes.
Right? To stay within our comfort zone, to stay where we are, we're maybe not happy, but we know it. And we're not willing to step beyond that comfort zone and deal with fear or discomfort or anxiety or whatever, right? It's choice. It's all choice.
It is indeed. Yeah.
Karen, I've loved this conversation with you. We could go on for hours, I know. I'd like to wrap this segment up, and I'm sure there are others who are watching who would love to get in touch with you directly. Would you share with us the best way they can connect with you?
Sure, I appreciate it. The best way to connect with me is currently on Facebook. That's where I've spent the most time sharing my personal journeys and pivots and transitions, both the triumphs and the trials. And it's Karen Nowicki, Nowicki. I know that there's several of them, but I'm the one with the great hair and possibly even a pop of color.
Perfect. Okay. I appreciate all that you do for others, Karen. You are selfless in sharing the stories of business owners here in the Phoenix area and beyond. And I've been honored to be on your show a few times, and it makes a difference what you do. And I'm just so happy that you are who you are and that you are here to serve others. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching this episode with Karen Nowicki. This series of conversations is based on my latest book, Upside Down to Right Side Up, Turning Transition into Triumph. My book, the articles I write, and these conversations are intended to share stories from the heart and life strategies that can help others. I invite you to share them with the women in your life. So none of us will ever again feel like we are alone in this human experience. Many of us have gone through similar experiences, and we're here to help. I believe it's our time to thrive. Will you join me on that ride? I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan. Till next time.